Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and today we're continuing our Jiang Wei's Northern Expeditions Let's Talk Lore series with episode 8 titled The Wei Response. Before we get started, here's the answer to the trivia question from the end of our last episode, and be sure to stay tuned until the end of this episode for a brand new trivia question. Now, last time we ended as we discussed Wei's outsized response to Jiang Wei's victory at the Battle of Taoxi as reinforcements led by Chen Tai, Deng Ai, and Sima Fu mobilized westwards to save the Yong province from falling into Shuhan hands. Now, even though Chen Tai and the Western garrison forces had a head start, as they were already garrisoned in Chang'an, Chen Tai deliberately slowed down his march, as he took his time marching from Chang'an to Shangbang through Chencang, gathering more troops along the way, before finally halting his advance at Shangbang to await for Deng Ai and the Wei Central Army units. While saving Wang Jing and the battered remains of the Yong province garrison forces would be nice, Chen Tai was more concerned about overcommitting to rescuing Wang Jing and putting the rest of the Wei Western forces, and thus the entire western provinces, at risk. So Chen Tai played it safe and waited for Deng Ai at Shangbang, which once again became the linchpin fortification for the west, much like how it withstood Zhuge Liang during the first northern expedition all those years ago. Fortunately, Deng Ai didn't let Chen Tai, and more importantly, Wang Jing, wait too long, as he rapidly marched his forces from Luoyang to rendezvous with Chen Tai at Shangbang, as two of them immediately had a debate over their next step. Deng Ai argued that due to Wang Jing's defeat at the Battle of Taoxi, most of the troops in the local region were already lost. The reinforcement that he brought with him were hastily organized together from various available units on short notice, and then had to force march their way here. So, given these circumstances, Deng Ai believed that the correct approach here is to sacrifice Wang Jing and the remaining Yong province garrison at Di Path, as their loss could at least slow down Jiang Wei's advance with a long siege and whittle away at the Shuhan morale, which must be sky high after their victory at Taoxi. This would also give time to allow the reinforcement forces to rest, train, and drill together here at Shangbang before taking on a tired and worn down Shuhan army. While Deng Ai's plan was supported by most of the officers, Chen Tai disagreed, as he argued that the fortifications at Di Path can't be abandoned so easily, as even when facing a well-prepared army, it would take the attacking side at least 3 months to construct the necessary siege weapons to attack the fort. In Jiang Wei's case, the Shuhan army had to hike through the mountainous terrains of the western region just to get into Longxi, so it would definitely take them even longer to set up a proper assault on the fort. Furthermore, because of their difficult journey, the Shuhan forces basically had no supply lines to sustain their campaign and had to rely on salvaging Wei supplies to continue their attacks. Therefore, it's even more crucial to engage Jiang Wei now, as not only will their presence limit Jiang Wei's ability to pillage for supplies from the surrounding areas, it would also embolden Wang Jing and the defenders inside Di Path to have some faith and not surrender the fort over to Jiang Wei. The last thing they want is for Di Path to fall, which would then allow Jiang Wei and the Shuhan army to resupply themselves from the Di Path and continue to push eastwards towards other vulnerable supply depots on the Wei side. Hearing this argument, Deng Ai and the other Wei officers agreed as they set out together from Shangbang in 3 separate groups. Chen Tai led the vanguard forces with the goal of rushing to take an elevated position on a hill southeast of the Di Path, as Chen Tai wanted to use this hill as a signal point to inform both Jiang Wei and Wang Jing that the Wei reinforcement has arrived. This will hopefully scare Jiang Wei into ending his encirclement and help raise the morale of the defenders inside the Di Path. Now, one thing that will help Chen Tai here is that Jiang Wei was completely unprepared for Wei reinforcements, as by Jiang Wei's calculations, it should have taken more time for Wei forces to mobilize west. So Chen Tai had no trouble sneaking his troops onto this high point near the D path, and once there, in the middle of the night, Chen Tai ordered his men to build a huge bonfire and sound the war drums to signal their presence to both sides. While this does ruin the element of surprise, you have to realize that the goal here for Chen Tai was not to engage Jiang Wei's forces at this point, as he was also worried, much like Deng Ai, that Jiang Wei's army morale was still riding high from their recent victory at Taoxi. So Chen Tai's goal was just to give a show of force and make it more difficult, if not outright impossible, for Jiang Wei to actually take the D path. And if Jiang Wei can't take the D path, then the Shu Han army can't resupply. And once the Shu Han come close to running out of supplies, then that would be the perfect time when they're most vulnerable to attack. Now, when this bonfire and drumming woke up Jiang Wei in the middle of the night, he, along with the rest of the Shu Han army, was indeed taken aback as they could not believe the speed of the Wei mobilization, as some on the Shu Han side even started to theorize that Wang Jing's retreat might have been part of a grander Wei plot to entrap them here. Now, despite these fears, by next morning, Jiang Wei was ready organizing ambush parties to the south in anticipation of the Wei reinforcement approaching D path. Unfortunately for Jiang Wei, Chen Tai's unit atop of the hill to the southeast was a mere decoy, as the rest of the Wei reinforcement, split in two separate groups, were actually looping farther east to reach the D path, while Chen Tai and his unit had no intentions of leaving their position on the high ground. So Jiang Wei and his ambush units waited for 3 days without seeing any signs of Wei troop approaching the D path from the south, and by the fourth day, Jiang Wei lost patience as he decided to attack Chen Tai's position outright. But with Chen Tai dug in defensively on high ground, Jiang Wei's assault failed as Shu Han's army was forced to retreat back to their encampments. Then, not long after, scouts returned with news of more Wei reinforcements approaching from the north and east as the two other groups finally made their way towards the D path. Now, realizing that his chance of taking the D path was now officially over, Jiang Wei started to plan for their retreat, as if they lingered, then there was the chance that Chen Tai's reinforcement on top of the hill could move south ahead of them to cut off their return path, as well the western mountain path was great for entering Longxi as it was a downhill hike from the plateau. It's almost impossible to retreat from the same path out west. So much like in Jiang Wei's previous northern expedition, the plan was always to return to Shu territory from the south. And thus, on September 25th, 255, Jiang Wei pulled his encirclement of D path completely, as the Shu Han army would move south towards Zhongqi, which is just slightly northwest of Hanzhong, bringing an end to his 8th northern expedition. Wang Jing and the remaining Yong province garrison troops were saved, as Wang Jing informed Chen Tai that there was just 10 days worth of food left inside the D path, and if reinforcement hadn't arrived in such a timely manner, the D path would certainly have fallen. Now, for Wang Jing's mistake and defeat at the Battle of Taoxi, the Wei court would demote him, as he would be summoned back to the imperial court, where he would remain in a civil role. In his place, Deng Ai's subordinate, Zhuge Xu, who performed well against the Wu forces previously out east, would be promoted to become the new prefect of the Yong province in Wang Jing's place, as part of a series of moves that would end up with Deng Ai becoming the lead Wei figure out west, as even Chen Tai would be moved back east, not due to any poor performances, but rather because of Chen Tai's impressive showing out west. He is now being reassigned back east in the Xu province, as Sima Zhao needed a capable and loyal commander in this area following a series of rebellions in Huainan, as well as Wu attacks. Overall, Jiang Wei's 8th Northern Expedition was an astounding success for the Shu Han side in terms of military gains, as Jiang Wei's forces annihilated the Yong province garrison forces, thanks in large part to the inexperience of Guo Huai's replacement in Wang Jing. But in the grander scheme of things, Jiang Wei's victory at the Battle of Taoxi was not converted into any territory gains for Shu Han, as the Wei side was simply able to pump more manpower and resources into the Western Front to replenish their losses. Furthermore, the Wei court under Sima Zhao was able to correct their mistake immediately with the reassignment of Wang Jing and the appointment of Deng Ai as the new lead generals out west, which would eventually prove fatal to the kingdom of Shu Han. This is by no means dismissive of Jiang Wei's achievement here, as if he was able to continue to nibble Wei and outtrade in every campaign against the Wei side, eventually the Wei side would run out of resources and manpower to adequately defend their western holdings. But Wei just had a much larger margin for error, as they could absorb one or two bad decisions or losses, such as Wang Jing's appointment or the defeat at Taoxi. But Jiang Wei and the Shu Han side couldn't, which is what we're going to see in Jiang Wei's next northern expedition, as after the conclusion of this campaign, Jiang Wei would immediately go back to the drawing boards to plan attack for Shangbang, as he learned from this attempt that Shangbang must be taken if Shu Han wants to cut off Wei reinforcements into Longxi, as that is the only way to translate these wins into territory gains. And to find out how Jiang Wei's 9th Northern Expedition will go, come back here next time, as we'll continue our series tomorrow with episode 9. Hopefully you all have enjoyed this episode enough to consider subscribing to the channel for more content on Three Kingdoms history, or simply support the channel with a like or a comment below. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye!